Oh boy, have I had difficulty with these videos this year. Hi, I'm Kerry. So annually, I do a video about games I played on Game Pass. That's up on my YouTube. And yeah, when I recorded that video, there was an internet disruption, so I had to record the last bit in the morning and then merge those two videos together and upload to YouTube. It took like 18 hours to process for some reason. And then I recorded the addendum video, which is the follow up. So I was like, okay, this is how much content I'm getting free. No, it is on Game Pass. But how much am I? But is it still like a savings? Is it still saving me money? Like, am I as a result spending less? Well, this video indicates how much I spend on video games throughout the year. And yeah, so I recorded this video, uploaded it through Twitch or exported it from Twitch from YouTube, which is much faster. Within 10 minutes, it said, "Yep, it's there." It just takes an hour or so to process the video, and then I started watching the video, and the audio was cutting out like every 1.5 seconds. Like you could make out what I was saying, but like it was just a constant disruption. I thought, no, I can't put anyone through that. So I'm recording it again, and maybe I'll go through it a little faster and just focus on the talking points of what did I pay, what did I play, and one point of this might be you might listen to it and be like, oh yeah, okay, I didn't know, Kerry, you played this. We can talk about that next time. Or I've never even heard of that thing. What an opinion. Tell me more. And maybe the paying amount doesn't matter so much. Too bad. I made a spreadsheet. So the first two games I just want to point out, yes, I did buy prior to. So this is supposed to be a video from December, mid-December to mid-December, because that's when I started Game Pass in the first place 3 years ago. Yeah, so first I want to start. Okay, these two games I did play, but I did pay for them prior to this time period. Rogue Legacy, a good game. However, with rogues, usually I beat them, and then when it starts going, okay, so now do you want to play higher ascension levels? I go, no. This one, it gets tough. You got to go in. I never beat it. I think I at this point I lost interest. It's probably not installed on my console anymore. Just because those bosses are hard, and it's not like it. Yeah, but yeah. Otherwise, it's still a fun game. But it is kind of weird that like when you go into a run, the strategy people even say is just like you gotta decide: are you playing to like beat the bosses, beat the game, or are you playing to get currency, get gold, so you can level up your ongoing characters? And it's kind of like that's kind of weak, really, every rogue should kind of be it's a design choice, and one I'm saying I don't really disagree with, because yeah, certainly there were a bunch of classes and some were more suited for one or the other, and it's kind of like no, when they give you a variety, they should all be capable of winning. Maybe not equally, but they all have the intention you can win with them. And then that's what it should encourage you to try different things, try different builds, which all might win. But no, this game didn't do that. Another game, I have no idea when I bought this. Could have been years ago. I mean, Final Fantasy IX, I've been saying is my favorite Final Fantasy, and yes, it is the first one I played. And it's a game that I've been saying to myself for a while, I'm going to save this game for retirement. And look forward to playing it one last time. But then I did a Twitch stream earlier in the year. Oh, by the way, I'm not even streaming this recording on Twitch. I'm gonna see how well that goes. Maybe I won't even have to bother with internet at all. Yay! So I did a Twitch series, said like, "Hey, is Final Fantasy IX Kerry's favorite game still?" And I thought, well, I don't really want to stream the parts where I'm just grinding and leveling up. And then sometimes it'll be like, okay, camera on. I just lost. Oh, that looks stupid. Okay, well, I guess I gotta stop streaming so I can grind. And then, yeah, I just didn't follow up. Plus, also, yeah. So it's still my favorite, I guess. So it's not like another one came along since then. It's just like, yeah, but this one's better. But I will say, yeah, I think perhaps the days of me playing a game and grinding are behind me, unless there's a fun grinding aspect to it. Like maybe the battle you're doing repetitively has like a puzzle aspect to it, um, or some sort of action sequence. Like in all the Mario RPGs, when you attack, you gotta hit the button to do more damage. It's more engaging that way. Now, to actual games I purchased in this, so December 17, 2022, I purchased Disgaea 4 Complete, which I do have a note here. It was on Game Pass, and then I started it, and then I bought it, and I don't think I played it more since I bought it. $22. I mean, I still, yeah, like the first Disgaea game, like I did play the first few, 1 and 2 for sure. I don't remember maybe 3 or not. Very thoroughly, easily put 1,000 hours into the first game. So I mean, yeah, every time I buy one of the new ones, a little bit still goes to like, you know what, you made a quality product. Here's more money at you. Which hopefully some of this $22 goes to someone responsible in Disgaea in some form. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you which one is 4, which is 5, which is 6. But when you do start them up, in fact, I don't even think I played 6, but 4 and 5. When you do boot them up, it's just like, whoa, they did change quite a bit, but it's not necessarily for better or worse. I purchased for $14.56, and I think I estimated this at about 30 hours of gameplay. The season pass, or maybe the gold edition of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which includes 2 campaigns for DLC, Legacy of the First Blade and the Fates of Atlantis. The Legacy of the First Blade, I mean, yeah, aside from the parts where there's specific characters you talk to, didn't really seem so extraordinary. Like it was still set in the same world, whereas the Fates of Atlantis DLC did take you to the mythical places of Tartarus and Elysium, and then finally Atlantis. Which, yeah, certainly took you out of any aspect of, oh yes, this is historical realism or historical fiction written by a team of creative writers who with different backgrounds and different historical perspectives. Like, no, this is Greek god stuff. Which I see was a lot of trends in a lot of the games I was playing recently in this year. And then now we're going towards Norse mythology. I don't know how or why these trends exist where certain themes become prevalent across multiple games. You think, well, I don't know. Let's see. So, for $7.26, I purchased Streets of Rogue. I certainly saw the word rogue appeal to me because, as I mentioned in some of my other Game Pass videos, rogue, like, and light, mostly light, have become some of my favorite genres of games. This one, yeah, advertises like, you start in and you go into a world and how you play is up to you, man. But then it's kind of like, but in reality, when you start a run, you pick a character of like, there's a variety of people here. You could be a policeman, a gorilla, a burglar, a street punk, a doctor. And then when you warp into this world, which does have 3 different levels, a staple in Rogue games. No, you have to follow a bunch of missions and quests set for that class, using the tools that class has uniquely to them. So it wasn't really as immense. Like, I don't know, for some reason the way they advertised, I was more picturing like Fallout New Vegas kind of thing, where like, yes, once you leave the vault, you could focus on melee or explosives or not even weapons. You could talk your way through things. And this was more like, no. Once you pick the character, you gotta do that. And then runs, weren't that, well, not for me, they weren't that long. I died pretty quickly. It's pretty tough. So I don't know. I would say, yeah, well, $7 is fine, but I don't think I should have bought that game. Wargroove is a game. Yes, this was previously on Game Pass. It plays a lot like Advance Wars, and so I did buy it $10. And if nothing else, this is just a voting with my money to say yes, more games like this, please. This year they did re-release or remake Advance Wars 1 and 2 on the Switch, but like they made it a full price game, and it's just like, well, if I really want to play Advance Wars 1 and 2, I bought them on the Wii U. My Wii U sitting over there. I, I probably could even find them on my GBA if I really wanted to. Hopefully, I still have my AC adapter. But hopefully someday, if I keep this installed, I might just be like, you know what? I'm in between games. Let's run through this. I am hopeful. Chucklefish made it. Let's see. A third. This is the only one image that I took the title out of, or I didn't use an image that had the title. Transcripted, which I paid $2.23 after tax, and it's a mix of Geometry Wars and Zuma, which was a game I was playing, which was available on Game Pass, where you see this chain of colors go by, colored gems, and then you shoot colored gems. I think it shows on your ship what color's next, and if you make a chain, it breaks the pearls in that gem. And if you're very dexterous and clever and strategic enough, you can make combos where, like, let's say you break 3 red gems, and then outside of those 3 gems were 2 green and 2 green. You break the 3, the chain collapses, it makes a new. Those 4 break. You can make combos. I was never dexterous or smart enough to do that, but you could. So it's that plus Geometry Wars in the sense of you, in this case, fly a ship around, and if I remember correctly, like, you're inside of some sort of body, and perhaps white blood cells are defending the body against the foreign invader, which is you, even though you're really trying to cure cancer, maybe, I don't know. Apparently, I didn't play long enough to get an achievement, but I do recall some of the achievements were like beat the game without using health upgrades or with full weapons or some. So, yeah, I think it was a neat idea. I like the idea of, like, hey, this idea plus this idea equals something. And I think by challenging myself with trying to get the achievements, I lost interest too early. This was certainly raised the average price for purchases throughout the year. I paid $40.18, which arguably, some of it went to charity. I bought a Humble Bundle for Turkey, Syria earthquake relief. Now at the time, this is before Gotham Knights was on Game Pass. So I saw, okay, Gotham Knights. So $40, I thought, at the time, that's a good price for Gotham Knights. I have seen the email, and I think there were actually like 40 more games in this bundle, but I touched none of them. I installed Gotham Knights. It didn't run well on my computer. In the motorcycle sequences, the guitar would just guitar. How am I mixing up the words guitar and motorcycle? The motorcycle would just flash in and out, and I had no idea that, like, oh, do motorcycles matter in this game? And then I realized they don't. Like, you could zip line everywhere, but there is one boss battle that does use motorcycles, and that I'd hate to get that far in the story just to be like, oh, I can't run it. Too bad. I think other games in the bundle include 911 Operator 912, but yeah, there. I decided to take all the codes on Steam, but I haven't touched any of them. Tuaga Among Shadows, a purchase for $2.11. I'm surprised. Apparently, I've played it for an hour and a half. I did turn it on a bunch of times, because yeah, it's like, maybe a minute or two. The levels are, I would estimate, a minute to 2 minute. Most of them, you're in the center of the screen on top of a temple, like just a pyramid shape, and enemies come at you in waves, and you just kind of like a twin stick shooter, but it's just one. You aim a beam of light in any direction, and then if you hit enemies, it takes them some duration of time to expire. Pretty simple game mechanic. There's some levels where you're not in a temple, but you're flying through space. I thought good, clean fun. $2 couldn't go wrong. $2.11 later in the month. This is March 28th. Purchased Agent A Puzzle in Disguise, and I thought, if nothing else, this will be a game that'll help me. I got, I've lost count. It's easily over 1,000 days, maybe 1,000, 1,100 at this point. Days where I got at least one achievement every day. This seemed like a good short time per achievement where I can just turn it on, solve the next puzzle, get my achievement, call it a day. But yeah, it's similar to Escape Academy I mentioned in my Game Pass video. This one takes it's a real not so much an escape room, but the plot is you are a spy and you're trying to find a spy, and you go to their house and they see you coming, and so they lock the doors, and they've got all these clever traps and puzzles and locks to get through. Point and click adventure, satisfying, just satisfying in a good variety. And yeah, somehow I managed to get it for $2.11. And one game I saw for $1.11, so it might have been 99 cents on the store. Manual Samuel, which I had. So one thing is, you might say like, Kerry, hey, if you're on Game Pass, you think it's so great, why do you still buy so many games? And the fact of the matter is, it's like, yeah, on Xbox, it seems like every Tuesday they have new sales until the next Tuesday, or sometimes on given around holidays they'll add more sales on top of that. So every Tuesday I just go into the store, go into details, say, hey, what's on sale, and then it's like, yeah. So if you're gonna find stuff that's 99 cents and looks remotely interesting, yeah, sure. I still do my due diligence of checking, what are the achievements like? How possible are they, or difficult, or are they too easy? And depending on how what the price is, once it's 99 cents, then it's just a matter of saying, can anyone say, hey, this was an okay game? And in fact, what I did, this game, pretty fun. Guy dies and he's reborn, but the death makes a deal with him. Like, if you can survive for 24 hours and do everything manually, then you'll be. The deal is I'll let you continue living. So you have to yeah, you have to make sure he's constantly inhaling and exhaling, blinking every so often. You got to make sure you walk left foot and right foot. So it's very QWOP, if you know what QWOP is. And yeah, I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed it, had a good run. And in fact, I had some friends over, and a couple friends, and I just said, hey, here's a game. You might find this humorous. And and there's a co-op mode, so I handed them each a controller. And the good thing about the co-op mode is you can decide who's controlling what. And I think they just evenly decide, or use the game default to just be like, okay, you're in charge of legs, you're in charge of breathing and grabbing things. And yeah, they ended up beating the game. I think it's a 3-hour long game. And then yeah, I did go through the time trial mode, and there's some where it's just like, okay, to get gold, I gotta do it perfectly for how long? But I got most of the achievements except for that and a buggy one. So yeah, if you find it for less than you think games should be worth, I recommend Manual Samuel. If not, just give it a try. West of Dead, I bought for $6.04. One game I bought last year was I was gonna say Crypto. Oh geez, I don't remember right now. But it was a game very similar to the. Oh, you know what? My spreadsheet. I can just look to next year. Oh, how embarrassing! Curse of the Dead Gods. Yeah, I wasn't gonna say that. So that was a game that was running out of Game Pass. I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna see how far I can complete it. And then once I got back into it, I'm like, wow, I'm really enjoying myself. So I bought that game. And then I reached the point where it's just like, no, I thought I beat the game 2 waves ago. You're now on this third thing where it's just like, So this was a game at $6. So it's very isometric view. I think you are someone who's recently deceased who, for some reason, keeps getting reborn in this limbo. And it's very Western themed, and a good variety of guns, neat voice acting. The guy who played Hellboy, I can't remember if he's the narrator in this. I only played for an hour and a quarter, which that's not bad for $6. But yeah, I'll need to find another reason to get back into this. But in this one, there was a neat emphasis on having to cover, but cover would occasionally run out. And making sure you're in a lit room. Um, and yeah, it had a good wave. I like roguelike games when you find yourself in a position where you play the one run and you make some progress, but then you die because that's what you do. And then when you play the second run, you get a little bit farther and die. Third run, a little bit farther. You actually feels like you're learning, and I did experience that in the 4 or 5 times I played this game so far. One game I regret. Well, that's harsh. Nah, I didn't care for, and I put 6.5 hours in, and it cost $6.71. Dragon's Dogma: Dark Arisen, which yeah, I read reviews. People were like, I don't know, I wasn't very familiar with it. Um, it seemed like a full-fledged game, and people reviewed it and said like, oh, it's so great, especially some bosses you fight. You gotta do strategics and figure out like, oh, what's the weak point, and figure it out. Because this is Capcom, and they made Monster Hunter, which I have friends who love. I've never played a Monster Hunter. So yeah, this game played a lot, kind of more, I'd say like a Dragon Age Origins, where yeah, you pick a class, but they're very rudimentary. Warrior, rogue, mage, and then along the way you start being able to blend the classes for more variety, versatility. But yeah, combat just didn't grab me, and I didn't think it was that interesting. And sometimes I would just be out in the wild and be like, "Oh, there's a giant, like a cyclops." Well, I happen to notice that if I just send my allies after him to attack, and I can res them, and they'll be fine. But that giant can't get to me from here. Arrow, 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 arrow. Oh, he's starting to run over here. Okay, well, I'll just hide behind this tree, kite over to this beach, and then jump back up to this cliff. I don't know, I just didn't enjoy myself. There was a mechanic where if you could go to tavern, like you were constantly, your allies didn't level up, I don't think, but you could go to like guilds and hire spirits of some fanciness. But if your friends played, you could hire their characters, and I just didn't have any one of my friends. I had a few people on my friends list, but I very quickly out leveled them. So it's just like, okay, I guess they didn't make it that far either. Um, and there was no quick travel, and it was just like a big world. Oh, look at this! But you couldn't just warp from town to town, and there was a lot of fetch quests, and just like, oh, and then I sometimes would run around and be like, I'm exploring, and the battles were tough. Sometimes I would just run away from them, and then my allies would die. And then I get lost and I have no idea where I am or how to get back, and there's no fast travel, so it's just like, well, that I'm done. Um, this game surprised I also put 6 hours into. It didn't feel like it because I feel like I only played like the tutorial and 2 more missions. Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden, and I chipped a little bit extra for the deluxe edition, which I think had some DLC expansion pack. They don't call them expansion packs anymore. Content. So I paid $24.63. I'm convinced I like tactics games. Like I mentioned Wargroove earlier, but they're also hard, and I often don't beat them. Like Fire Emblem, I've never beat a Fire Emblem game. I've maybe played 2 or 3 of them. Advance Wars 2, I sometimes get intimidated by, unless I have some idea of like, okay, I just can't take the time to figure out what's the strategy here. So, a really good game I liked last year that was on Game Pass was Floppy Knights, but that was a bit of a deck builder too. Deck builders I'm more comfy with, but yeah, I don't know, and also Mario Rabbids, which I keep forgetting to see if the sequel ever goes on sale, which I'm sure it does because it's a Ubisoft game, not a first party Nintendo game. Because yeah, the first Rabbids game I really enjoyed because it's simple. Like it was strategic and tactical, and you had to make decisions. But I felt like this game, Mutant Year Zero, I'm playing the tutorial mission, and yeah, I'm not playing on easy, and that's probably I'm playing on normal, and perhaps that's still my problem. But like, I'm losing on the tutorial mission. Like here, you don't have that middle character right away, but I see like okay, you got a pig who's more tanky and buff, and you got a duck who I think he starts off with a sniper rifle. So okay, cool. So obviously the plan is you get the pig in, you get them to trigger combat. That was a neat mechanic though in this game, is that you don't necessarily just be like, cool, one battle, okay, that's over. Next battle is more like you explore this area and then you see there's bad guys over there, and you can stealth to get yourself into a tactical advantage spot, or two because you split up your characters. That's cool. But yeah, this tutorial. So I put the pig in and I put the duck farther away, and yeah, like the pig, like I tried multiple times trying to. Surely there's a way I can win this with no one dying, but like the pig was, not permadeath, which I think is a thing that can occur. Um, but was knocked out, and you need to spend a resource. I hate spending resources. Don't come back. Spend a resource to revive them, which you had to make sure to do within a few turns. Yeah, so it was tough, and I was just like, geez. And then I'm sure I played a few more missions where I perhaps didn't start off in the most tactical spot, and just bad guys got me. Like, oh, tough. But certainly, I could have. Why I stopped playing probably was due to this next game, which came up. Game of the year, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, which I paid $100.79 after tax. And I put in 80 or more hours, according to Nintendo. But then since recording the first video, I did get an email from Nintendo saying, here's how much you played in all games, and it said it was closer to 90. And then yeah, the Breath of the Wild, I remember. Wait, what happened? I don't know. But I made some mistakes in Breath of the Wild, and this one I actually made the same or a similar one where it's like, well, I want to make sure I beat the game because I know so many people, everyone played Breath of the Wild, but I never heard anyone talk about like the final boss or anything, or like did they beat it. When like I play games to complete them, right? That's what I do. Get achievements, complete games, move on. But yeah, and I think when I did, someone's like, what percentage are you? And I'm like, oh, like 33. And I really thought I'd go back and take pictures of everything, filling in the photo album thing with all the pictures of all the monsters and weapons. That became a second game to me. But no, once the game was done, sure, there were a lot of monsters. Like, I don't think I downed a single Lionel or any of those dragons with the multiple heads. But once I beat the game story, I didn't really go back, and that's kind of a shame. And I would I start a new game if I picked it up again, or would I continue? I don't know. I am a little curious because I saw the idea of speed running. The idea of speed run popped in my head, and it's just like, you know what? Could you just go? Like, how quickly could you just go to the castle and? Because I'm not so sure the allies you meet along the way for beating all the temples really help you in the end. But make sure you get the hang glider. But surprisingly, within 9 days, because they were on sale, I'm sure, I made two purchases. One was the Assassin's Creed Origins Season Pass, because yeah, I got a lot of value out of the one for Origins. Sorry, Odyssey, which is the sequel to Origins. Thing is, though, when I bought the Seasons Pass for Odyssey, it wasn't too long since I played Odyssey, so it wasn't too hard to get back into the game. But having played a full other game plus all the content, when I went back to Origins, it's just like these controls don't make too much sense. Also, I couldn't really find where does the new content start. What the heck? So I think I put in an hour so far, And spoilers to the end of the video. I have purchased Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is the one that comes after Odyssey, or as far as releases go, chronologically in our real world. But yeah, 1679. These two season passes I've been keeping my eye on. Certainly a good value, but not sure if I'm going to take advantage of it. I guess we'll see how long it takes me to get through Valhalla, and maybe I'll be like, oh man, I still want Assassin's Creed before I start looking at Mirage. Or maybe I'll be done after Valhalla. Oh yeah, One Step from Eden was previously on Game Pass, but I think I bought it on Steam even prior to that, because of Game Pass, I got into roguelike games, including Slay the Spire and Monster Train. Monster Train is being removed from Game Pass in December, which is a bummer, but I completed it to completion, so I'm fine. But one friend who liked these games too was just like, he recommended One Step from Eden because rather in Slay the Spire, he felt like he constantly get into situations where he'd lose or like come across bad guys. It's just like, well, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I was building a deck that isn't suitable for this enemy. This game plays a lot like Mega Man Battle Network. The combat, you move around on a grid. You get cards which work as special powers. You gotta watch your mana. There's multiple characters that all play very differently. Sometimes you want to build completely different decks around them. Yeah, so out of perspective, like, yeah, this is a very good game, and I want to play it on my couch as well as on this PC here. 1164, yeah, throw money at them, that's fine. And Song Pop, oh yeah. So, actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah. Well, this about begins the There's a lot of games in this where I purchased where I'm thinking ahead, planning for PAX Kerry, where I have a bunch of people over, we stream the PAX content, and in between the musties, we play games, dang it. No queues, no waiting, just fun, and socializing, and chilling, and dining, and cookie contests. So one game I purchased for $2.90 was Song Pop Party, where all it is you start up a game, multiple people can join using the old, your phone as your controller. You go open up a browser to join it, go to a website to join an instance, and then you pick a genre or a playlist of songs, and they'll randomly play 10 clips of songs, and they'll give you 4 options. It's just guess the song. Not much to it, but it's certainly something that everyone can play. Not necessarily on even ground, but everyone can get something out of it, so long as you're not picking genres like country, let's say, that some people might have absolutely no knowledge on. One thing I will say though is if you are playing on a console, whoever is playing with as the controller has an unfair advantage because the idea is you get points for guessing the right song, of course, but the faster you guess correctly, the more points you get, and the controller inputs are accepted way faster than any of the phones were. So you might want to hand the controller off to, that could be your handicap, or I'm not sure if you could just turn it off entirely. Oh, and also, but even bigger tip was right away we realized start the game, go into settings, turn off the music for the options because that was just constantly starting and restarting and stopping. We're just like, no, which is funny for a music game. Turn off the music. But yeah, fair enough. Certainly worth $2.90. Another thing worth mentioning is that all the games I purchased so far, not including the Humble Bundle, not including Tears of the Wild, I was gifted an Amazon gift card through work. So all these games were paid for by that. and I get it is a little easier, when you're given a gift card, which on Amazon though, you can spend it on practically anything. Wait to see why I'm laughing there. It's that much easier to be like, sure, what the heck? Sure, what, $6? Who cares? So what I would do is, go on Amazon, go to like Microsoft gift card, $50 gift card, buy, it emails you a code, you put it in the Xbox, you have that much credit. Yay. Now, the other day I got an Amazon gift card and I added it to my Amazon account and I went to Microsoft gift card and I added a gift card to my cart, and you would have told me, this is only like 2 days ago. That's me looking it up for legitimacy, yo. That's how you know I'm genuine. Um and it said, like, okay, it went to the checkout and it's like, how would you like to pay? This credit card, your gift card balance? And I couldn't select gift card balance. That is something that changed this year. Here's some value for you. This video, if you didn't know, they changed it so now on Amazon, at least Canada, so Amazon.ca, if you have a gift card balance, you can't use it to buy other gift cards. I believe the intention has to do with preventing money laundering, but it's just like, come on. It really should be, look at an account. Are they buying things like a normal person? How big are these transactions we're talking about, right? Or it could very well have to do with, like, margins. Like, I don't know if perhaps if you buy a Microsoft gift card, which you have to imagine, like, Microsoft isn't necessarily making any more money or less on that gift card. But if you buy it through Amazon, does Amazon get a cut? Does Microsoft not want to give Amazon that cut? Or is it real? So in that regard, it's like, well, then if Amazon's not getting anything out of it, if there is no markup, then, well, I guess the benefit is then you have more people using their service. But it is kind of dumb. Well, I don't know. Let's see. So yeah, it's like Song Pop Party. I paid 11 cents. Okay, but out of $2.90, I got 2 hours out of it so far. Another game was for $7.16. Quiplash 2 International, which, hey, it's more Quiplash 2, more quips. I don't necessarily think the quips. Now, Fibbage, I can see if it being like the facts being about. But no, I think all Fibbage. I don't think Fibbage necessarily was like all America facts. So Quiplash, I can't imagine. International. I don't know. I don't think they were more like, hey, what does a person in Chile think of statues? Right? Like, I don't know what made it international. But it's just, hey, more prompts, more achievements, wink. Yeah. For $4.29, I bought Total Arcade Racing. It reminded me of Off-Road Racing, which was on the Super Nintendo and my favorite arcade. And looked like it could be fun and easy to play together. It never came up. What the dub is, so during one of my online Jackbox nights, I booted up this game. So Jackbox Games inspired Parental Floss to make Use Your Words, which was a variety of games using your phone as a controller to input fill in the blank prompts. One of the fill in the blank prompts to a variety of mini games. One of these mini games was they'd show it was called like Sub the Title, where they'd show a clip from a foreign film. I think they were all foreign films, and some of there'd be subtitles, and then some of the subtitles would be missing, and then you got to put in an answer which gets the most votes and laughs and cheer. And then someone came along and said, you know what? I certainly thought this wasn't the case, and my friends would agree as well, that that was the best part of the game, we figured. So someone went along and made a game that was just that part, and there is some polish to it. They read out whatever you type, and the choice, and with inflection if you put a question mark, sound effects. Pretty straightforward. The scorings, well, there are options where it seems like every round the points are worth more, which does kind of seem like, well, then whoever does best at the end just wins. But whatever, it's all about giggling and making callback references for me. Oh yeah. So we played it on Steam, and then one day someone's like, "Oh, can we play that game?" I'm like, "Well, we're on our console." But yeah, $4. It was worth it, so I could play it over there, and we did. Or I definitely bought on sale. Xenon Valkyrie Plus. I'm sure I bought this because it was $1, and I think it is a rogue light with 8-bit graphics. I guess I was inspired by Risk of Rain, which I thought was very good. Risk of Rain 2 I didn't enjoy as much. Like it completely switched from like a 8-bit 2D game to a third person shooter in like 3D worlds where I couldn't make heads or tails of where I was going, or who was shooting me at any given time. So I apparently put in 40 minutes in this game, and it was difficult, and I couldn't really tell like what the different characters did or what the buttons did, and yeah, yeah. For $4.82. So I still haven't bought Vampire Survivors because it's on Game Pass, but I bought not one but two DLCs. Could I tell you what exactly each DLC is? Nah. Moon Spell is a thing. A bunch of characters have that name, but it's just more maps, more weapons, more reasons to play Vampire Survivors, which I haven't exactly 100% completed anyway, and more. It's another good game where it's just like I need a reliable achievement, quick or fast, and at the most part it'll take half an hour to get the next achievement, um, or less. Nickelodeon All Star Brawl. I guess I could say I bought it for PAX Carry. Oh, $8. That's pretty good. $8.38. That being said, now there is a sequel out, which I guess this game made enough money, sold enough copies to warrant the sequel. I remember being mad at because this probably came out. Yeah, I think this. I want to say the same year, Multiverses, which was a free to play, but like we couldn't play it locally. We tried at PAX Carry last year, and which is to say 2022, and there was no way to just be like add a guest account. We need to like every player who wanted to play need to insert their Microsoft account details. And it's just like that is just the worst. And once we did that, there was no okay. Nickelodeon All Star Brawl plays a lot like a Smash Bros. All the characters have quite different moves. And oddly enough, it was a game where I was just like, this needs a training because I don't know. Like just playing solo, like I don't know what I'm doing, what attacks are effective. So when I'm playing, against bots, it's just kind of like, just be the arcade mode or whatever. I'm just finding what attack hits well and the timing's good, and then just KO the opponents and move on. There's a few sports games in it too, and I don't know. For the most part, it's just novel and neat to see all these different Nickelodeon characters, including a bunch of Ninja Turtles characters, fighting some Avatar characters, and like Reptar from Rugrats. I don't remember there being any other Rugrats characters, but like Cat Dog's there, and the guy from Smashing Nigel Thornberry. I want to say never really watched that show. Yeah, $8, but yeah, kind of miffed now because yeah, there's a sequel, and so there's no online play in this game because it looks like everyone moved over there, or maybe there wasn't that much of a hardcore online audience in the first place. Watch Dogs Legion. A summary from the previous video and this video is I do like me some Ubisoft games, and there's really no reason to ever pay full price for any of them because they do eventually come down. $13.43, and I put in 13 and a half hours so far. This game was weird. Okay, this game, which is the third in the Watch Dogs series to my knowledge, you don't play as a one person like you do in the prologue in the tutorial land, which is a museum heist. But like there's this, it's called DeadSec, which is just, depending on who you ask, it's a terrorist group. But like, or is it that the government's gone out of control and corporations are too demanding and The public is losing their all their rights and freedoms, and it takes place in could be 5 years in the future in England. Um, so DedSec is kind of like this anti-government, anti-corporation establishment who works in the shadows, and so at any given time you start off with like five seemingly randomly generated characters, and and almost anyone in the streets you can kind of like scan them using your Google glasses, and it'll say like, oh, this person is a hypnotist. This guy is a game designer. This guy is a taxi cab driver, a construction worker, works at a hospital, etc., etc. And most people you walk into, they say like they have a problem either with some of the corporations or the government. They'd be like, "Oh, the government fired my uncle, and he was 6 days from retirement, and they're taking his pension. I sure would be grateful if someone got back at corporation." Then you go on a quest where you go to the corporation and like you hack them so that guy's uncle gets his pension back. And he goes, "What you did, Set? You did that? You're dead, Sec. Ah, I'll join you." And then you got a new friend who is a construction worker, and as a result, he has a wrench and other unique abilities, kind of like Rogue, Streets of Rogue I mentioned earlier. And that being said, so when you do the missions, is like for the most part you may have an advantage given if you have certain unique equipment or skills. But sometimes it's just for role playing sake. It's neat to have like this guy is an investment banker and he looks more like an old man and he dresses well. You can dress the characters. There's a lot of clothing customization options. But sometimes it needs to just be like, sure, I'll be the one to do the talking and solve this, versus the boxer we just recruited. They can do the mission which involves infiltrating a fighting ring because that makes way more sense. So it's just novel. Although it was weird because I fell into this quest chain where it just seemed like, it sounds to me like this person who I want to recruit is an assassin. And some of the missions, they were very. There must have been a tie-in with Assassin's Creed. Well, there definitely was. Who am I saying? Well, might have been, because it's all Ubisoft, right? So that was a weird. It really felt like it fit in and could have very well fit in as like a prologue to any of the epilogue to any of the Assassin's Creed games. So it's just novel. But yeah, I think what distracted me was well, maybe at this point I'm still playing Tears of the Kingdom. This is July 13th. I bought Watch Dogs Legions. August 1st, I purchased the DLC, the season pass for Immortals Phoenix Rising. And yeah, that I think added 30 to 40 more hours. Each one of these expansions easily, I feel, could have been a standalone game, but like not a full-fledged game, but like maybe a game that comes out and it's $30. In fact, now that I think about it, maybe that's maybe each DLC was $30 in the first place. But it certainly made me feel like there's promise for when Ubisoft says, "Hey, here's a DLC." Because yeah, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? Like they have a DLC which I'm seeing like half price is $30, and it's like, what are they thinking? But no, they put care and attention into each of these DLCs. Which the latter two played very differently from the main game, and kind of had their own stories. Whereas the first one was an expansion of it, and it kind of relied on you having beaten the game and had a mastery of the skills, and then introduced some new ones, which definitely would have broken the base game if you had them during the base game. But this was set in a different instance, different world, or well, different level. Not the same world map is what I'm trying to say. So 1679. Well, like I say, it's a little surprising that I've paid more than I did for Watch Dogs Legion, which is a full game. Um, or like I'm saying, there you go. Like, don't pay full price for Ubisoft games. Um, I should mention that for $26, I did buy a humble bundle for Jackbox games. But then right before recording this, I thought, okay, well, for my total sake, I'm not going to include, just because I'm pretty sure I had all the games. I think I really bought this with the intention of giving away all the codes. Or if not, I think maybe there were some codes which I added to Steam, but I already had them on Xbox. Um, $26. Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe I just forgot to ask hard. I asked once, or maybe all my friends are polite, but still have all the codes. Although it wasn't all the games, but a fair amount. Considering also, yeah, $26 got you 2 and 4, and I don't remember what else. Apparently a discount on 7. So I don't think it included 8. $26. That's pretty good considering Jackbox 10, which came out this year, sells for 45. Like, oh my goodness me. So hopefully that comes down to 20 or 15 in the future. I almost feel like, yeah, I'm gonna hold out, mumble grumble, humble bundle. Once again, planning for PAX Kerry. $4.47. I bought Octodad Deadliest Catch, which it's funnily enough, I realized I know nothing about. I think this is the exception where I didn't look up reviews. I'm like, yeah, that's a game. That sounds like a real wacky doodle fun time mix. But you know what ended up being the wacky doodle fun time mix and the game of the PAX Carry was McPixel 3. So we played that, and I didn't have to pull out this game. So I still don't really know what it is you do in it. I haven't played it. But it's installed still. Unspottable, $10.07. We played for about 2 hours. But no, this was a novel idea, a good thing to play at a PAX Carry or any other event where you have people over. Essentially, the idea is you start off, and we played 3-player. I think you play up to 4 players. Don't think you can play single player. No, that would make no sense at all. Well, maybe. And you put it in a field of, let's say, 30 identical characters. Like, you see these two guys, they look the same. Only one's emoting more than the other. And let's say you're playing 3 players. Even the players, they all look the same as all these bots on the field. And the idea is, okay, so step 1, figure out which bot is yours. Because it doesn't say, like, player 1, player 2, or like green, blue, red player. And then step 2 is, meander about, fit in with the rest of the crowd, because everyone's just moving around randomly or designed to look randomly. And then step 3, without losing track of where you are, try to figure out, okay, of these bots walking around, which ones are the other players? And then if you have an idea and you walk up to them, you press a button to punch, which kind of gives away, hey, these robots in most of the levels aren't punching. So, aha, that one who punched, that's probably one of the players. Or it definitely is. And so if you punch a robot and it explodes with robot parts, oh no, that wasn't one of the players. You just gave yourself away. But if you do punch and it hits one of your opponents, they'll fall down. They don't play anymore. You get a point. Yeah. Pretty straightforward concept. It's a hoot. And there were maybe like 12 or 15 of these levels, which for the most part they're all different. Or like one took place in a dance club where there'd be a DJ on stage, and every song would be like, "Okay, everyone, let's start dancing," and then the directions that everyone's gonna start moving would show up on the screen. So if you're not following along, you're the one that's not moving. And like, get him. There's a couple where like you're in a supermarket or a restaurant and you need to find specific ingredients in all the displays and all the aisles. And then once you've got them all, leave the store. And I think in that one, it did show like, okay, player 3 has these ingredients but doesn't have these ingredients yet. So you could theoretically, camp out a certain position, try to stop them. There were a couple times where I'm just going to wait by the exit. That didn't really pay off for me. Yay. Unspottable. So I don't know if I necessarily. Well, it's for you to decide how much the value of $1 is for video games. $10 seems pretty high for the games I play. But I mean, for a novel experience, we all had a blast. Worth it. Uh, let's see. Who pressed mute on Uncle Marcus? We ended up not playing a PAX Carry, but I did make sure to almost immediately after to go ahead and play it. It is an FMV game in the vein of Telling Lies or Five Dates. I haven't played Five Dates yet. And yeah, I don't think I recommend this one. $12 I paid. I got 5 hours out of it. Mostly I wanted to play it because one of the actors is the actor from The Office. He played the CEO, Michael Wallace. That sounds right. And he plays the titular Uncle Marcus, who the premise is the family gets together for a Skype or Zoom or non-brand name online phone call where they all get together and play a quiz show, and they take turns quizzing each other. They also take turns splitting off into different pairs and teams. They acknowledge it doesn't really make any sense, but before that call, your uncle messages you, the most trusted niece, and just says, "Oh, someone's poisoned me. You got to figure out like who did it, what's the poison, and we can figure out what the antidote is." I think that's right. It may have just been who did it and what's the poison. And then yeah, you just kind of play the quiz show and you talk to people and without giving too much away of the like, oh, I'm trying to find out who murdered Uncle Marcus. You make some dialogue choices and yeah, by the end, and yeah, till you get if you get enough evidence against someone, by the end of the night they ask you, who do you accuse of murder? And you either don't have enough clues or you pick someone and then it just gives you an epilogue of what happens after you accuse them. Um, yeah. And now there's some games like 12 minutes we play at PAX Carry, and it's kind of like, okay, they explain that, well, without explaining how he got there. But like that game takes place where the person is stuck in a time loop trying to prevent something terrible from happening, and most of the things you attempt end up with a terrible outcome anyway, and then you just get reset to the start of the 12 minutes, the titular 12 minutes. I figured out how to pronounce a word. But in this game, it doesn't explain at all, like, how do you restart this whole debacle? Or, no, that's fine. Like, okay, who cares? It starts over. But, like, how do you retain the knowledge that when you talked to the people in, like, your first run, in the second run, you still have, like, oh, so Ant said this. So, I mean, yes, you could just look past that if you want to. But by the end of me just having to play multiple times and being like, okay, what dialogue choices have I not made? I got tired. And the big reveal, like the big conclusion to the whodunit really wasn't worth the time. Or wasn't really that like, oh my god. It just more or less was just like, well, I'm running out of options. Could it have been? Well, maybe. And then it was. Or was it? It was. For $3.35, I purchased Screen Sheet. Yes, we did play at PAX Carry. Another novel concept where it's a first-person shooter. And if you picture GoldenEye, where back in the day, people playing on the same couch, looking at the same screen split into four, and it would be cheating, unsportsmanlike, if you looked not at your screen, but like your opponent's screens to figure out where they are. In this game, in the world, in the level, all the players are invisible. So the only way to really determine where your opponents are, and therefore where you should be shooting, is to look at their screens, find out where they are, and try to figure out, okay, relative to where I am, if they're looking at the kitchen, and I'm in the kitchen, I should be looking, boom, and hopefully you shoot before they shoot, and after reaching the same conclusion. Novel concept. We played a few rounds. There were some King of the Hill ones, or like Juggernaut ones, where you are trying to hold a thing the longest. we had some fun, had some laughs. Um, Made sure to uninstall it before I got any achievements. Novel concept for $3. Also, surprisingly, was $3.35. I'm surprised I never bought this game. I. It's possible I played this at PC free play at PAX, or maybe back in the day I played a demo. I'm talking about Bastion. And yeah, I'm guessing I put 15 hours into this game. What an experience! What a satisfying game. And and it was crazy. Well, I don't know. Just if nothing else, it's just like even if I did buy it at some point, and just completely forgot. It's like here, hey, people who made Hades, have some money. And yeah, it just showed up as like it's on sale for a ridiculous price. And I double check. I'm like, do I not have this already in my library? I don't. Not even 360 version? No. So yeah, that was that. Yeah, well, quite possibly. Oh, except for when we got the next game, I was like, quite possibly best value to price of the year. And then towards the end, it does get a little rogue light T, where it's like once you beat the game, you unlock these levels where they're just waves of enemies, and you unlock these artifacts. Which, if you turn on the artifacts, you get a perk, but also the difficulty gets ramped. Wait, you get a perk? No, it's the opposite. You get a boon, but you get more experience points and whatever. And by the end, like I wasn't fully leveled up, but the idea is, yeah, the remaining achievements, all I've left are to play these wave levels with all the artifacts on. But I think I might just be I'm satisfied enough. The other day, I went back to the Microsoft Store just to rate this game, and with some hyperbole, because I realized, okay, no, my game of the year is Tears of the Kingdom. Otherwise, I would say my game of the year is Rogue Book. It didn't come out this year though, but so therefore, Tears of the Kingdom definitely wins. But this is the game I feel I had the most fun with in 2023 that I paid for. Put in 80 hours, and what it is it's a rogue-like deck builder. So it's very reminiscent of Slay the Spire. But key differences are: one, instead of picking one character out of four, you choose two characters out of five, and they all play quite differently and have different decks and playstyles and what happens when you damage them. Um, when you play cards, similar cards, attack, block, skills, and miscellaneous. When you play a block card, depending on who plays that block card, that character switches to the front. So there is a greater an additional layer of, okay, what cards, the order, the significance of the order of the cards that you play, and whoever's in front, 9 times out of 10, the bad guys will attack the enemy, the whatever hero you have at the front, and therefore whatever damage you don't block, whoever's in the front is the one who's losing health. Another key difference with Slay the Spire, like a lot of roguelike games, they take place on a map where it's very, okay, yeah, you reach a fork, pick a direction. This game takes place in a book, where there's 3 chapters, but each chapter is its own map, which is mostly covered in a fog of war setting, except in most difficulties, it's very clear. Okay, you start here, and here's where the end boss is, just straight up. And you collect in every battle. You unlock these paintbrushes and ink canisters, and when you spend these resources, you reveal more of the map. And then on the map, there's icons for more combat, or like the sky towers, which reveal more places on the map, or other things that give you, more cards, or more opportunity, or random chance things, or ways to upgrade your cards. And you can absolutely choose to just especially if you are someone who's perfectly fine with taking advantage of saving and reloading your save once you realize, oh, this battle isn't going so good. You could, if you decide, oh, that bad guy, reload your save and just walk around the enemy as opposed to Slay the Spire. Once you decide, okay, I'm going on this fork, up, tough battle. Well, there goes the run. And it had a pretty fun and novel ascension system, where once you beat the game in the basis level, sure, level 0, let's say, you then get, when you go to, okay, unlock difficulty 1, there's this table where it's like, okay, there's 3 categories, like exploration, money, and battles, and each, you put like a rank into each one of these categories. So like combat rank 1 might be elite bosses do more damage, kind of thing. So you put 1 point into that, and then so the next time you go, okay, if you beat that, you go, okay, well that was tough. I don't want to put that. But you want to beat difficulty 2. You can choose the other column. So it's like cards cost more in the finance one, and paintbrushes are harder to come across here in exploration. So you can put ranks into these different columns and add that up to whatever level you want to play next. So yeah, point being that every run, especially if you decide to swap out your heroes, which I needed to do. So let's say if there's 15 difficulty levels, I think around by level 3 or 4 or 5, I decided, okay, these 2 heroes I like a lot. But then by 11, I was just like difficulty 11. I'm like, wow, I can't win. I've hit this difficulty wall. But I read online. I was like, oh wow, maybe I should just. These people are suggesting I use these completely 2 other characters. So for those last 5 difficulties, I was trying. It was very satisfying. But I was playing new class combinations every time. Definite reasons to switch up my strategy, which was very satisfying in this case. So yeah, and I will gladly say I paid $15 for this, and it included 1 more DLC character, probably some like costume skins, whatever. Rogue Book gets my if you like roguelike card builders, I should say. Thinking ahead for. Oh, this was purchased like the day before PAX Kerry for $7.38. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game complete edition, which is also Ubisoft. I remember this game being hard. Side scroller brawler seemed well constructed, but it was hard in the case of like I think there were RPG elements to it where like you did need to level up and like beat up enemies, and they would drop Canadian currency, and you could go spend it on upgrades and having to buy food to replenish health. So I'm not sure I ever beat it when it was available on the 360, but I plan on giving it another go. For $11.19, Banner Saga Trilogy, which I've certainly heard of, I've certainly seen on the store before, and I don't know. I just decided this one time at $11, or I guess maybe it's $9.99 plus tax. Nah, that doesn't sound right. $10.49? I don't know. Sure, let's look at reviews and stuff. And I certainly saw some reviews which were favorable. They said, oh, it's a great story that you just want to get into. And yeah, go ahead, play the trilogy. It keeps going. Now, that being said, I played for 5 hours, and it is tactics. I'm convinced I like tactics. Like I'm saying, there's a bit of Norse mythology, but this seems to take place in its own world. So yeah, 5 hours I put in, enjoyed myself. Oh yeah, and also this game is tactics, and it seems I've never played Oregon Trail, but this game seems very half the time you are doing tactics and combat and trying not to make your characters fall in combat. But half the game is like managing this caravan going across the world trying to find more survivors, because this world is being also attacked by, a dark bad force. There's humans and this giant race who are very effective in combat. So I'm enjoying myself. And but yeah, as far as Oregon thing goes, I'm very invested in. Okay, I'm not spending money on upgrading my characters so much, but I am making sure there's enough food so the caravan survives. And we'll see how that pays out. I really have no idea how long this thing is. I don't know if like maybe I'll beat it and be like, oh, maybe I'll look up online and be like, oh, was that what I was supposed to focus on? The food wasn't that big a deal. Oh man, maybe I should start over. So yeah, so 5 hours in, and apparently there's 2 more games for me to play. This is amazing. Okay. For $14.19, I renewed or I paid my contribution towards the family plan for Nintendo Online, and the only game I remember playing of some significant amount is Pokemon Snap, which I've for the N64, which I've and I'm well aware of this. I've never played it before, and I just in a day sat down. I can't remember if it was a sick day necessarily. I thought today's the day, and I played through it, and like I'm happy I did. And I mean, $14. I'm sure there's no way for me to play it on the N64 legitimately. So hooray for I got that plus the rest of the year of Nintendo Online. Um, Pretty underwhelming, but yeah, like I say, I was more happy that I finally got around to playing it and I beat it. But I thought there'd be a lot more to it. But a good value for you for well, $15 though for a game I only played for one day. Yeah. Hmm. 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 For $9, I purchased Indivisible. I think sometimes I look for platformers, and then this seemed to be like a platform Metrovania with RPG, maybe more RPG elements than platformers. The emphasis, but it's there, and yeah, it's pretty tough. um, I don't. You get into battle with 4 characters as you're used to. Each one has their own accompanies. Each one is matched with one of the face buttons on your controller. So that's how you decide. Okay, they each have their own. I have to wait until so long before I can attack. But if you wait even longer, they can attack 3 times. And each one has like when you attack, if you press a direction plus the attack, it's a little convoluted, but not too bad. But like I have trouble remembering what is everyone's combinations and what do they all do. But for the most part, I just press the buttons as normal until this meter at the top right of the screen fills to full, and then I just go, okay, use your ultimate attack. Guy with massive sword who hits everyone, done. And also, yeah, when the enemies attack you, you push the button to block with that specific character that's being hit to mitigate the damage. Or you can push a button to have everyone block, but that reduces that ultimate meter at the top, so that's bad. Played for 2.5 hours. The character apparently there's a lot of characters to look forward to, like 20 something or more. Pretty funny writing. But yeah, right now currently combat is weird. I'll just say that for now. A game that I'm surprised I didn't really hear about. Oh yes, and I think it's worth mentioning that like this is the closest, except for Tears of the Kingdom, this is the most I paid for a real game. Oh yeah, not including the humble bundle for Turkey Syria earthquake relief. This is the most I paid for a game. Marvel's Midnight Suns, which yeah, I wish listed it right away. Didn't really hear anything for the longest time. I don't know. It's made by the people who made XCOM, and it's Marvel. But when it came out, no one was just like, "Wow, this is an amazing game." But likewise, no one was like, "Wow, this game was a huge disappointment." But what I did hear a lot in the reviews was that, like, "Wow, I spend a lot of time in doing a friendship management with all the Marvel heroes, and I should have listened." Because yeah, I was playing earlier today, and so yeah, there's parts where yes, you get into these battles, which at a glance looks like it's like an XCOM. Like you have units on the field, like bad guys on the field, and your units who consist mostly of Marvel superheroes, or you could most of the time there is a protagonist who named Hunter, who you customize and blah blah blah. You choose whether or not you want them to be light or dark, and you have choices all throughout and blah blah blah. Okay, so in this battle, it looks very tactical and like what matters where everyone is, but there's more focus on the deck building part because yeah, you go into battle, you choose 3 heroes, and each hero has a deck of like 8 cards. So every turn, you draw a hand, like whatever cards you end up not playing, they stay in your hand. Um, but if you play an attack card with a hero and you say like, oh, I use this card on this enemy here, which you can choose anyone on the field, for the most part, your hero will just run up to them. So it's not really a matter of like, oh, I got to make sure they move. Like it's not most tactical games you focus on moving and attacking. This is just like, no, play the attacks and you'll just move. But you do have the occasional like, oh, this enemy is going to explode at the end of the turn. Make sure to move away from them. Or sometimes you can do things like this obstacles where if your hero can like is at the right angle, they can use that obstacle to like jump off a rock or throw a rock or rocks. And then middle on, you realize, oh, you can also shove people. So it kind of depends, like move into or be in a position where you have an enemy in the middle and an enemy you want to push them into, or like a lamp post or electrical conduit. So but it's not like you are focusing on, oh, got to make sure my guys are attack and then go undercover so that when enemies attack they have a defense rating and percentages. Not really any of that. So there's, but I was playing today and I realized, and I save before every battle, and I realized between saves an hour had passed where yeah, it was like one battle which maybe took 15, 20, maybe 25, 30 minutes, and then the other half an hour at least was in like the abbey, they call it. It's this mansion which exists in a pocket universe, which is a recreation of Salem, Oregon, like a mansion surrounded by this forest, which you can explore, and there's a bit of Metroidvania stuff going on there, which I'm not sure yet, but I think when I reach the end of the game, I might realize you didn't have to do that, but there are perks, and may as well and learn more about the characters' backstory and some of his familiar characters who aren't massive Marvel characters. But yeah, you're in this house where all the heroes, and there's maybe like a dozen to 15. Oh, and I bought the deluxe, so $40. I got the deluxe version, including the season pass, which I feel like you got to, because it includes 4 new characters: Deadpool, Venom, which right there, that's probably, without thinking about it, 2 of my well, you didn't say Spider-Man, 2 who is in the game, but in the base game. But yeah, Deadpool, Venom, quite easily 2 of my favorite Marvel characters. And they got Storm and Morbius. I'm learning about Morbius. I don't know much about Morbius. And they have their own missions and research and upgrades. They're all good. I think it's neat playing it and not just beating the game and then doing the DLC at the end. It's good to incorporate them as soon as you can. So you go back to the Abbey, and there's all types of upgrades for you to manage. There's like a forge where you do daily research to build more things you can go to, more combat items to unlock, which are these disposable things you can generate using resources that you earn every mission. And outside of the Abbey in the forest, you can find mushrooms, and those count. After every mission, you get like an upgrade which you give to Tony Stark, and he goes, cool, and he gives you an option of 4 cards to add to any the heroes, and depending on who you brought into the mission, it's their cards, but you pick one of 4 that are randomly generated. And then in the day, and after mission, you can go on Hangouts, and you can, which are just like an opportunity to increase your friendship rating with each of the heroes. Which, if you upgrade that, they get passive abilities. I think I'm doing it wrong. Like, it probably would have been best if I had just been like, cool, I want to be friends with Blade and Spider-Man, and that's it. Captain Marvel. Robbie Reyes, so the Ghost Rider you see on screen isn't Johnny Blaze. It's this guy Robbie Reyes. I don't think I've heard of before, and I'm kind of intrigued and maybe want to read their comics. Maybe, I don't know. Nico from the Runaways is in it, so that's cool. Anyway, yeah, a lot of the heroes I like bringing about. There's very few where I'm just like, very useless. um, yeah, and then there's a variety of missions and story missions. Oh yeah, and there's but yeah, all types of upgrades that which affect the games once you're in the battle mode. So yeah, it's quite easily half and half of managing and actual combat. Um, so aside from the bulkiness aspect of that, the game like I like it. The story is good. The combat you can choose the difficulty, which you can change at any time, making it harder. You get more experience, but the bad guys have more attack and defensible. I'm hitting my so I put the slider in the beginning. You only have like the two beginner difficulties, but the higher ratings you get in missions, the more difficulties you can unlock. And I've landed on one where it's just like, you know what? I find myself in tough situations. I tend to win almost every time, which is good when battles are like 20 minutes, right? But there certainly are some situations where it's just like, but yeah, if I didn't play my cards right, I could very well have lost that mission. I don't remember. Well, maybe this was a week ago. I said I wrote 33 and a third hours, but that probably has gone up to 40 hours easy by now. And I have no idea how far along I am. I think if there's 3 acts of the game and I've just pulled that out of nowhere, I feel I'm in the middle of Act 2. And then it certainly well, I'm hoping. I'm not sure if the game will just end and just be like, cool, that was the run of the game. There probably will be ongoing missions and plenty of achievements I haven't unlocked yet. So I will, like Gears Tactics, will probably find a way to keep playing, and not necessarily by restarting the game. And who knows? Maybe. Well, I'm playing a mostly light hunter. Maybe I'll do another run where I choose all the dark and angry options. See how different that is. And also maybe do a run where I focus on a handful of heroes, and I might learn like, oh yeah, I've been playing this wrong. On the same day, November 17th, I guess I was in a shopping mood, and I purchased Going Under. Internships are heck. It is it's a rogue-like game where you go. Okay, well, first of all, I just gotta say the setting is you're hired as an intern for a company, and there's a message all throughout which is tries to give a message that which is against this idea of you got these startup companies who think they're the bee's knees, going for quick riches off of a weird idea, and then in the end they all get acquired by these mega corporations who just take the company, take whatever value there is, and then throw it away. On your first day in this internship, they're like, "Hey, look, there's a goblin," and hey, intern, why don't you deal with that? And it's just like, I was here for a marketing position, and they're like, "Oh, that's too bad. You don't want to keep your job." And they're like, "Okay, fine, I'll go fight these goblins," and it's very hack and slash. Um, and yeah, I keep going to my friend Clinton and being like, "Oh, this game's hard," and he goes, "Why is it hard?" And I go, "Hey, you got a good point." Um, and yeah, there's a bunch of different people in your company who give you all these missions to do, like go to this dungeon and try to find a specific thing, or don't use any upgrades, or blah blah, or try to spend so much in a single transaction. And for the most part, I'm either completing a run of the dungeon and being lucky and completing one or two missions at a time, or sometimes I just complete a mission or two and I don't win the dungeon, but it still feels like I'm accomplishing something. I'm running out of missions now. It's getting hard, and it's getting to the point where I have to choose one or the other, either do the mission or do the dungeon. And the more missions you do, you level up your mentorship with a given uh, leader in the company, and then every run you do, you pick one of the leaders and you get their benefits. But I think I found one or two of these people who are just like, no, your benefit is amongst the best, so I'm gonna stick with you. Um, yeah, I think I think I'm in the home stretch. It feels like it, but it's definitely felt like that once before. And then, but once I complete a harder version of this dungeon that I'm on, I imagine there'll be a conclusion, maybe some sort of super thing. And I think through a DLC update, there'll be runs where I have to now complete all three of the dungeons in a row, and it'll be crazy. Um, we'll see if it feels like I hit a wall or not. But yeah, let's see. $6. Got at least 10 hours into it. That's a win. That's a recommend. One game I've been watching, waiting for it to go on sale for is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. My history with Borderlands is I bought the first one on recommend in a game forum. That's how long ago. Jeez, man, game forums. So I pre-ordered two, pre-ordered three, pre-ordered. Oh, sorry, pre-ordered two, pre-ordered pre-sequel, pre-ordered three, pre-ordered the Telltale game, and then that Telltale game. That was when I was starting to be like, you know what, I should stop pre-ordering this stuff because they released episode one, and I paid for the whole thing, but by the time episode 2 of 5 came out, then the season pass was on sale, and it was just like, great. So, person who didn't believe in the game day one ends up paying less than the loyal fan. Boo. Um, pre-ordered and then pre-ordered Borderlands 3, and then I waited for the season pass to go on sale, and it never did. Or what would happen is there would be a bundle that includes the game and season pass. That would go on sale, but it would never go on sale to be a price which is less than the season pass alone. So once again, it's like, okay, I'm trying to you're disincentivize. You're making it worse for the people who bought the game in the first place. Boo. And then not only that, but Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3 rather ended up having 2 season passes, and it's like that's who does that? No one else does that except for like these free to play games. But like the season means something there. Um, and the second season content just never sounded appealing to me. So Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, I'm like, no, I'm not pre-ordering you. And then that backfired on them because, or worked out for me because the game it came out and everyone's like, this is mediocre. So I waited it for it to be less than $20, and then I saw, okay, so $20, but then I had to buy an edition that included cosmetic DLC just because I'm playing on Xbox Series X. So that's stupid. So yeah, 25.18, and what did I mention earlier? Marvel's Midnight Suns. So yeah, this is about the third or fourth closest to paying full price for a game, and it's okay. It's more Borderlands, but it's a medieval setting. They realized, we don't have to continue being on Pandora and this. I was gonna say maniacs. That's psychos. The whole psycho thing. We can look at, hey, medieval tabletop RPG tropes. Yay. And I will say, good cast though. It's got Andy Samberg and Wanda Sykes play two other people who are at the table. Oddly enough, they don't have player characters who follow you around. I was expecting that, but they don't. But they banter quite a bit, and it is pretty good. It's pretty much Jake Peralta's right there. But with Will Arnett as the villain. Never mind. I thought I was gonna be all sneaky and be like, "Look at me, being sneaky, making sure I know Will Arnett's name is indeed Will Arnett from who you may know from BoJack Horseman." It's pretty funny. Doesn't show up too much. And yeah, I got 14 hours in so far. Um, yeah, I've reached about level 20. I have a feeling it's gonna stop at 40. And yeah, there's a season pass for the game, but I hear it's garbage. Blink and you miss it encounters, stuff which used to be free. They call them like headhunter missions in previous Borderlands games, and it's just a tragedy because like Borderlands 2 DLC was the shit. Include like one of them was even a game called Bunkers and Badasses, which was so well received. They made well now we got Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. It inspired its own game, um, which then itself did not have good DLC. Very recently, so yeah, like I said, I watched the sales. I'm keen to buy Ubisoft games that come down in price. I've recently become keen on buying the DLC as well, because that's just a fine thing to do. Like you look at a game, you track it, and it's just like, well, it's always going to be a better deal to buy the game and season pass in a bundle. But sometimes it's like maybe you just want to buy the game and see if you like it first, see if it's worth buying the season pass. But no, I think for the most part, it's like if you know a game's going to be good, yeah, see if you can get both. But yeah, so I keep seeing. Okay, here's an annoying thing Ubisoft does though, and I see it with like the Far Cry games too. They'll be like, here's the base game, here's a deluxe edition. We got watch out. And here's like maybe more other descriptive word additions. Now here's the complete edition. You might be saying, well, what's the difference between complete and deluxe? Deluxe, you tend to have things like cosmetics and maybe a mission or two more, but it's just like it doesn't include season pass and stuff. So it's always like that's not a value to me. So you gotta be careful. And yeah, so Valhalla, which is the one after Odyssey, I kept seeing like, okay, there's a season pass, but it doesn't include this one DLC called Dawn of Ragnarok. Or I would see like, oh, here's the Valhalla Ragnarok edition, which includes the game and Ragnarok, but not the season pass. Like, what's going on here? And so I'd be watching that and it'd be like, so this complete edition, I think by default might be $180, and sometimes I'd see it for like $120. So I'm just kind of like, you know what? Yeah, okay. I guess what I might do is wait until Valhalla is $15 and then worry about the Ragnarok and season pass. And the darndest thing happened on December 2nd. It was the complete edition. I think at some point I was tempted to buy Valhalla for 20. I'm like, I'll wait until 15. I'll worry about the rest. And December 2nd, it was on sale for, well, I think after tax it came to $30.06 for Valhalla, Ragnarok, and the season pass. This complete edition. And even now it's on sale again for $45 plus tax. So like I think I fell upon a day that there was a glitch or something. So I scooped it up, started playing a couple days ago, and it looks solid. Once looks like they've got a bunch of new things. This one does seem a lot more. Well, I don't know if it's a matter of hey, you're this guy who's a Viking who isn't necessarily he's not in the Brotherhood of Assassins. So currently it's very combat focused, with some sneaking, but not necessarily sneaking up on people and stabbing them. Also, health is suddenly a thing that is a concern. Where like you're not recovering health after a battle. So here I am googling like, how do I heal? Because I keep dying. Like even on the first like fight, I died like 3 or 4 times. And yeah, there were difficulty things in the beginning. It's like I was kind of surprised. Like, hey, combat, what difficulty do you want? And I chose standard. And then the immediately after, it's like, well, what about stealthing? I'm like, oh, you're giving me multiple difficulty choices here? That's wild, man. And one more option was like, how many map markers do you want? And it was like, well, okay, yes, I can definitely see some people like I don't mind if it just says, yeah, go here, and there's 50 markers on on the mini map. But I'm sure some people would rather just be like, nah, let me actually explore, Get rid of all these ugly markers on the map. Me, I like just being able to walk around and be like, ooh, something over here. Yeah. Although I did like in Odyssey, sometimes you'd be talking to someone who's giving you a quest, and it'd be like, oh yeah, I know the guy you're looking for. He went over to this continent, or continent, or might be the wrong word, and he smelled of wine. So then when you look at the map, it wouldn't say like go here, but it'd be like that guy said he'd be on this island, and that maybe he's at a vineyard. So there was a little bit of a mystery to it, which once you're in the general area, it'd just be like use your bird to find him. Okay, cool. Or it'd say you're close. Use your bird to find him. So yeah, looks like a very they're expanding more and more, thinking of the user experience to become a better and better, well developed game. Meanwhile, it still comes down in price. So I still can't recommend paying full price. And yeah, Mirage came out, I'd guess October, and yeah, it's already like 25% off. Plus, these games do get added to Game Pass, so I imagine if I was very patient enough and really felt like, yeah, I've got so many games, which I do, probably could have waited and maybe it'll be on Game Pass eventually. They just added Far Cry 6 this month. I still haven't played. I think I haven't played 5 yet. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. And there's another one which is like a side game of 5. New Dawn Horizon, maybe something like that. Yeah. So I can't really give much of a review on this game yet, but I'm hoping I'll put at least 100 hours into it. This was a game I didn't see, but it was just on sale. We love Katamari. We love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reverie, which I had to make sure was a game I didn't already play recently. That was on Game Pass. Nope, it is a remake of what I think is the second Katamari game that ever came out. And I checked the achievements, and they all seem very like, yep, if you just play the story, you don't necessarily have to roll up every individual item which does exist ever, but there are some key ones you will want to find, like the cousins and the king and the queen. But yeah, no, just go don't worry about it. Have fun. La 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 la. So $22.39 after tax. So in conclusion, the point of the Game Pass video was, let's see. Sorry, it's been a while since I gone over the summary. So Game Pass in this year, I play 26 new games, 5 of which I deduced I shouldn't have started. And I continue played 6 games from last year or older, and there are 5 or 6 games where like I got reinvested into them because they were being removed from the service. So depending on how you look at it, about 30 games, 30, 31, 32 games that I played, which were available on Game Pass, versus games I purchased was still 40. 40 games, and I played 33 of them, and 7 I didn't. And it's funny looking at these numbers, just because, okay, so on average, and here's what I'm saying is a value of Game Pass. It's like, okay, they give you games so you don't have to pay for games as often. Therefore, I can wait for games to become, mostly $2, $6. The occasional 15 game where I end up loving it. Roguebook. So on average, you have to remember, $100 for Tears of the Kingdom. On average, I paid $13.44 for every game I bought. With the median being $8.38. So half the games I buy, or median works, is less than $9. What's funny though is that the games I didn't play on average are $15.91 7 times. So it makes me think, oh, you know what? Maybe I should be a little more careful when I'm looking at games and spending more than $10. So in summary, 40 games. I spent $546 on games. $435 on games I played, for an average of $13.60 games I played. Also worth mentioning though, that I did spend $848 on game hardware, including $600 of that. 674 was for an Xbox One Series X, which I gotta say, like, even though it's like it's the same games on the, I don't think I'm playing a lot of games which are exclusive to X or S at this point that I could not have played on the Xbox One. But oh my god, they run so much faster. And there's another thing of value which I didn't know was a thing, or wasn't advertised that much, is this idea of quick resume. Quick resume, where it uses, now I'm not a hardware guy, but I believe the acronym I'm looking for is RAM, or random access memory. I think this is relevant to what I'm talking about. You can play a game and like switch to the other apps, YouTube, Disney Plus, Crave, the Edge browser, and you can switch back to the game and continue playing. That's not new. But if you then switch to another game that's installed on the console, it will keep a save state of where you are on that first game. And it'll do that without asking for like the last 7 to 9 games I've played. I don't know if like there's some sort of size of each game matters or anything in regards like that, which means I'm saving so much time, because unless I'm starting the game off new or I deliberately close the game for some reason, I'm almost never starting, like, I want to sit down and play a game. I don't have to go through all the, well, this game was made by this developer and published by this publisher and built on this game engine, and some people have sensitivity to flashing lights. Here's the start menu you can't skip. Go to the loading screen. Like, it's such, that alone, yeah. Over time, over this year, may very well have been worth the $670. I also spent $50, and this was on that Amazon gift card, so I was encouraged to treat myself. $50 this cost, for the Razer Kihi mobile gaming controller, which all this is like, in this thing in the middle is my mobile phone, my cell phone, if you will. And this thing is just an attachment. Here's this one big piece, which does collapse and fold, and I'm not going to do it right. But you just plug in your phone into this little plug here. Which goes into like your charger plug. Oh yeah, and you can plug in your AC adapter at the bottom here, so you can't keep playing. And yeah, the point is, for whatever like, cloud gaming is another feature they advertise all the time on Game Pass. Here's this thing. It fits in a box, which I keep. And yeah, it's got all the buttons of an Xbox controller, the 2 joysticks, little funny feeling shoulder buttons, but they all work. And yeah, buttons for start and select, as well as the home button. Oh, okay, I said in my previous recording the capture button, but no, it's got home, select, and start, or whatever they're called. All the buttons you really need. But yeah, cloud gaming is something they advertise with Xbox Game Pass, because it's the darndest thing. Well, yeah, that's right. It's called Xbox Game Pass, but you don't need an Xbox to benefit from it. A lot of games are available on PC, and I feel like all the games are available on cloud gaming, which for the most part that means you don't need to install the game on your console to play it, but you can just stream it online, which is fine. I tend to just install the game straight out anyway. But you can also play, it feels like all the Game Pass games are playable on an app on my phone, which is like, that's cool. And okay, yeah, I think all the games are available on cloud, and it feels like all the games that are available on cloud also use touch controls. Like, they made the game available using touch controls, which is cool. But at the same time, it's like, so they took Fallout 76 as my go-to example. I can't imagine playing Fallout 76 on my phone with, like, they have the digital joysticks on the screen and the buttons are on the screen. But like if you're playing it and using your thumbs as on the imaginary joysticks, which by the way you can't feel, so it's very like with a joystick, you move your thumbs and you can feel it, but you have no idea if you're on the touchscreen if your thumb miss if you realize holding a controller. Oh yeah, I'm not pressing. My thumbs have moved. But imagine playing with thumb. Imagine your thumbs are covering 2/3 of the screen, right? I can't imagine why. Well, I mean, there's a lot of different. A lot of people have different accessibility matters. I don't know what I just started up by accident. Oh no. Oh, but I don't have to play MLB The Show now. I get all those achievements once again. But if so the point is you could play all these games using touch controls. I think it's insane that they gave you the option, but you can. But then I just decided, I'm just gonna buy this attachment here, so that way now all or it seems like all the games are available on the go, provided you have, or not really on the go. You need to have stable internet connection, but at least this way I could on my main screen watch a movie, where on this screen probably not playing Fallout 76, but maybe I'm playing a game with more grindy aspects to it, or Power Wash Simulator got a lot of got the most mobile use. But yeah, one day while testing this out, like I played Mortal Kombat 11, which I couldn't play touchscreen, but I didn't. No, I didn't. I used this controller, and like whether or not if I were playing on a normal TV, I would have been beating this guy. But like I found someone of a similar skill. Like we were going back and forth on who was winning, and I felt like messaging him and being like, "Dude, I was playing on my phone. I just want you to know that." Oh, I paid $11 for a charger for one of my controllers, but then this was before I got the new console, so that may have been a mistake. And I paid $108 for an Xbox 360 at Game Deals Video Games, just because this year playing Rock Band has become fashionable again. Well, some friends of mine have started doing these monthly events where you can go to a bar and play Rock Band. So I just figured maybe I should take the time to acquaint myself with playing the drums. Just so I can be good enough that someone might want to scout me for their band, should we ever find ourselves in a competitive space. Didn't really pay off, but I found I could play drums. Rock Band drums on my balcony, and that's pretty cool. None of my neighbors complained. So yeah, $546 is how much I spent on video games this year, $848 on hardware. And just to compare that with my other hobbies, for tabletop RPG materials and 2 board games. So tabletop, I spent in 7 instances a total of $318, and that's just for 7 times, not 40 times. So an average of $45 just for the occasional. Oh look, I can buy these modules for D&D, or like multiple modules at a time, mind you, or here's a Kickstarter for Dungeon of Fitness, that was dumb. But it's $18, and it was dumb. I got the print edition, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with these PDFs I received. I might email them, but I might just give up. Oh yeah, and Dungeon Crawl Classics. Yeah, which is a new an RPG, which isn't. And I spent too much money on a bundle and a new book. But it was fun reading the book, so I might play it someday in the future, who knows. Digital art supplies, between buying Clip Studio Paint and a book of training exercises, I spent $39 this year. Oh, and I thought it was also worth mentioning. Wasn't really sure where this fits in the discussion of Game Pass versus how much am I spending on games. But there's 2 games that what about free-to-play games, right? Because theoretically, you very well could not pay anything or even subscribe to Game Pass. You could. I don't think I could. Well, I mean, if you got enough mobile games, I suppose you could say. But I wouldn't say, if I may be a gatekeeper asshole. That's not real gaming. Depends what you're playing. Marvel Snap, it counts. All the oh yeah, sorry, 2 games that are worth mentioning. I put 40 hours into Puzzle Quest 3, which I cannot recommend. Puzzle Quest was the best game on the DS. I can say that quite easily. This, they've gone too far. Marvel Puzzle Quest, yeah, that was a free to play. Easily put 1,000 hours into that. Um, and yeah, I'm sure if you jumped into it now, you'd be like, I'm overwhelmed with all the currencies in this. And this, yeah, they went into it knowing it's a free to play game. Gems of War, also 1,000 hours in. That was decent. But at least it was, same thing, but at least they knew. Like, it's you don't call it Puzzle Quest. Puzzle Quest 3, they've mixed it up the gameplay rather than you make a match and gems cascade and you hope to either get a free turn or make it like you strategize what swaps you're making because you don't want it to cascade and then your opponent's turn and they have a oh yeah you've made it so now I can match these skulls haha now you take damage. Puzzle Quest 3 it's a similar idea. You got a board. It feels smaller, but maybe it's 8 by 6. That's about fair. And you move at least 3 moves per turn, which makes it and your opponent also gets 3 or more moves per turn. So therefore, it's near impossible unless you're just like, well, I'll just match all the blue gems. So you can't match any blue gems because I matched them all. It makes it all the more impossible to be like to plan moves strategically to reduce what your opponent can do. Plus, the enemy hits you every turn anyway. And yeah, you've got all these currencies, and none of them make sense. And I've reached a point, like I'm just playing the story mode. I get the impression you can get to level 50. I'm on 35, and I've just reached a point where I can't upgrade my gear anymore. Like it got to a point where you need to like spend resources to level up your gear. And this one resource I get to get above level 30 or so, which I managed to do on like 1 or 2 pieces, is this, we'll call them runes. And I click on the thing to be like, cool, where do I get more runes? And there's no way to farm for them. You can play these modes where a treasure chest will drop, but there's no telling what will be in that treasure chest. And like, there's a 1 to 3% a rune might drop. And it's just like, this is stupid. You can't have a story mode. Like, I don't think I've ever, in any game, I don't think I've ever played any game where you can't just start the story mode and not be able to finish it. It's ridiculous, and all for the attempt of maybe we can get people to spend money. It's just like, no, that's bonkers. And I'm not sure. Yeah, 60 to 80 hours. Maybe not this year alone, but Fall Guys I played. This certainly is the game I spent the most time playing online. Runner up, I'm guessing, would be Gunfire Reborn. Yeah, which was on Game Pass. Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, which yeah, I did. I'm pretty sure I played in the first place because this was a game where I'm just like, wow, that looks fun. Money. And I was right. And then eventually came free to play. This year I was tempted to spend some money to get Raphael, like Ninja Turtles skins for my character, but then I decided nah, and I'm glad I didn't, because it's all the more fun to be like, my guy is dressed like a king, using these unique pieces I've earned, and that's it. It doesn't matter to me that he's not Sonic the Hedgehog. So yeah, video games. I like video games. And yeah, so I buy video games from time to time because you gotta. It's a weird industry now where it's just like, I mean, I get it's tempting for me to say like, look at this. You don't need to spend a lot on video games, but obviously the market would only exist if so many people bought the games at full price. So take this advice or recommendations or how much I value games with a grain of salt. Because it's just like, we can't all do this. But we all can go to Game Deals Video Games. Yep, I think this recording was shorter than the last one. Hopefully, I can actually now just take the recording. It'll be slower than exporting it through Twitch, but meh. Um, if you have any questions for me, I'd be surprised if you don't know how to get hold of me. Have fun.